Welcome back to Career Success Strategies for Investment Analysts. This is part 3 of this masterclass on the career success model, presented by JE Fundamentals. My name is Juan Espinoza, Managing Director at JE Fundamentals. Congratulations on continuing with this program. Before we continue, please consider the disclaimer on the screen. This educational video should not be taken as personalized guidance, coaching, or mentorship. This is a 4-part program. It covers the 4 steps of a powerful career success model for investment analysts. On part 1, we studied the important concept of zone of genius. On part 2, we analyzed how critical it is to match your natural skills or zone of genius to the specific type of job you want to have in this industry. For part 3 of this masterclass, the focus is on career strategy. Let's start by defining what career strategy means for you as an investment analyst. As an investment analyst, your career strategy is the aggregate of all the major choices on how you approach your career. And what are those major choices? There are 4 strategic choices or decisions you have to make in your career. Once made, these strategic choices become the pillars of any career progress that may or may not come after that. Some of these decisions you are making consciously, and some you are unconsciously letting others make for you. Pillar number 1 is the specific career path you selected. For example, if you're listening to this masterclass, it's probably because you chose to work in investment management. Then you made a choice to work for a specific firm. You chose a particular segment of the market, perhaps publicly traded bonds or private equity. Perhaps one or more of these decisions were due to serendipity or were not that well thought out. The purpose of this program is to help you become more thoughtful and intentional about these decisions. In that way, you can increase the odds of successful outcomes in your career. The next major strategic pillar is number 2, the people you choose to work with. When you take a job, you're choosing to work with a specific group of people. If they turn out to be a boost or a drag to your career, you must take responsibility for that end result. After all, it was your own decision-making that put you in that situation. Then comes pillar number 3, your approach to competing. This includes, for example, how methodical, how proactive, or how growth-focused you are at work. It also includes how savvy and into office politics you might be, and how much of a tactician you are. There are many nuances here, so this can be best summarized in this way. Do you tend to play defense or offense with your career? If these terms make you uncomfortable, please become comfortable with them, primarily because your peers are probably more than okay with playing offense when you stand in their way. Alternatively, you can think of it as having a proactive bias with a desire to win versus being passive and letting other people make the decisions for you. Ultimately, you decide. The 4th and final strategic pillar is your focus on personal branding. Notice that I said your focus on it, not whether you have a personal brand or not. Like it or not, your personal branding is happening every day. Your brand could be having a neglected personal brand. People can't help to perceive you. The vibe you give out, actively or passively, is your brand. This is why focusing on it and acting strategically regarding your brand is crucial. When you don't act deliberately building your brand, the world will create its own version of you. This random image may or may not be of your liking. When you learn the principle behind personal branding and create one for yourself that supports you, your career organically takes off. We are now going to get started with going into some details about these 4 strategic pillars. Before we do, I want to establish a fact about human behavior that should be obvious but has to be mentioned. Nothing we say in this masterclass is black or white. Our views have to be nuanced. Humans are not machines and don't behave in any particular way everywhere and all the time. Some human behaviors depend on context. In other words, They depend on the time and place where they manifest. For example, I've seen really nice people act very rude and vulgar when they cheer their favorite team at a stadium. You probably have seen that too. It's amazing how human behavior can vary. What's important for the purpose of this masterclass is that we have to pay attention to our own behaviors and the behaviors of people that make an impact on our career. What we see will dictate how we proceed. At the same time, we don't really know with certainty how people really are or feel on the inside. That being said, let's get started with pillar number one. Pillar number one is the career path you choose. As you see on the screen, there are many options. The table is meant to be comprehensive, and of course, you probably know many that are not included, and that's okay. What matters is appreciating how different the work you do is depending on the path you choose. Say, for example, you decide to work for a mutual fund company, or you choose to work for a hard-charging, fast-paced hedge fund, or a highly litigious distress fund, and your day-to-day is going to be very different. Your career path will be completely different. And this is what's most important here, so listen carefully. You have to make sure your choices suit your abilities, your interests, your motivations, and not really just your ego. Choosing a path for money alone, or because your friends like it, or for any other superficial reason, is incredibly dangerous to your career. One of the major goals of this masterclass is to make sure you walk away with this message, and make sure you do. On the screen, you now see a long and incomplete list of firms. There are thousands of investment firms and investment management companies you could potentially end up working for. All these firms on the screen have different cultures, different compensation policies, different ways in which they incentivize their employees, different dynamics, teams, clients, etc. Your experience can vary tremendously depending on where you work. Your effort in evaluating your career path carefully is truly a must. Let's now talk about pillar number two. Here we cover your highly strategic choice of the people you work for and work with. We are talking about the bosses and colleagues you end up with at your investment management job. The people you surround yourself with make a huge difference in your career, present and future. On the screen, you see a list of ways in which a firm or a team may or may not be a fit for you. Let's take intensity, for example. Some teams are highly academic, enjoy discussions, and drilling down on insights and conclusions, and other teams like to move fast and don't do a lot of talking or any out loud thinking. Some teams are extremely toxic and might lead you to burn out prematurely. It bears repeating, the people you choose to work with represent an absolutely critical strategic choice. It's in your best interest to be thoughtful about this choice. This is an area where experience and wisdom make a big difference, which is why you could make a serious mistake working with the wrong people despite your best efforts. I want to recommend you a book. The book is Give and Take by Adam Grant. This is one of those seminal books everyone should read before their first professional job. It gives you a practical framework to assess people's motivations and behavior. It's really helpful to know this framework early on in your career. This information allows you to look more critically at the people you might interview with, for example, before you take a job. People can hide who they really are, but they sometimes give away strong clues that you might be able to pick up on if you're familiar with this framework. Consider reading it soon. In my opinion, the sooner the better. We are now covering pillar number three. This is how you choose to compete. This is best understood when you look at competitive behaviors by contrast within a range. Notice, for example, that you could choose to be someone who takes a job where you are a bit overqualified. Being overqualified gives you an intrinsic competitive advantage. This instantly makes you a potential top performer. Or you could take a job where you are an uphill climber or barely qualified. In that situation, you might be able to show enough competence to be in the mix, However, keeping up with your peers will come at a price of you working many extra hours, learning new skills just to keep up with your peers. It's a very hard life. And while it's not impossible, it's going to be very difficult to stand out. The same can be said about people who choose to be a lone wolf, for example, as opposed to getting help from others. Lone wolves love to figure everything out by themselves instead of seeking help. You can choose to be in this particular way or any other way. What's important is that before you do what you do, you understand the cost and benefit equation you're getting into. I personally believe that the best approach is to have a competitive advantage from the get-go, but it is your decision ultimately. Here are a few other examples. They are self-explanatory. You may want to revisit these two slides and see what kind of competitor you are. I have personally tried both sides on a lot of these approaches. What I would advise almost everyone, without a doubt, is to try to make your life easier if you can, so you can get more done. You make your life easier when you take a job that you're extremely well qualified for. You make your life easier when you get help, support, coaching, mentorship. You make your life easier when you're proactive and you thrive on anticipating, not reacting to change. Think about that, and hopefully you'll feel motivated to adjust your approach if it is currently not the optimal one. And to clarify, you don't make your life easier so you can do less. You make it easier precisely so you can do more and add more value. While others are just trying to keep up, you are over-delivering. Now let's move on to pillar number 4. This is the last pillar on the list. However, it's a very important one and it requires extra detail. I'm just going to read verbatim what's on the screen because it is a great definition. Let's talk about personal branding. What is personal branding? It's the intersection of your competence, your character, your authenticity, and how these are perceived by your colleagues, clients, and the broader investment community. It hinges on deliberately shaping how your genuine, not made up, qualities and expertise are recognized and valued. Notice how authenticity and genuine are such key parts of the definition. You can boost, you can advertise, you can develop your personal brand, but you cannot fake it. You can improve what you have to offer, but you cannot offer what you don't have. I hope that's clear. Now on to the details. There are 4 components or keys to having a strong personal brand. Key number 1 is strategic authenticity. Key number 2, technical excellence. Key number 3, professional presence. Key number 4, relationship IQ, or what people sometimes call emotional intelligence. Let's get started with key number 1, strategic authenticity. Being authentic means being yourself. You want to be yourself because anything inauthentic is nearly impossible to sustain for an extended amount of time. You also want to be yourself because that's what will be valued over the long term. To clarify, when we speak about yourself, what is meant is the best version of yourself. To reach the heights of your profession, you must embody the best version of yourself. And how do you achieve that? We can agree that being at your best all the time is difficult. However, your best is not something you do. It's a mindset. It's a standard of behavior. It's about setting a floor and refusing to go below it. The best place to start is by setting a high standard in your favorite parts of your work. Those things you do, you enjoy the most, set a high bar for that. Before you know it, it becomes your prevailing mode of operation and it percolates to other things. For example, if you enjoy being a consumer products analyst, seek excellence in that. If you enjoy working with your team, be the most valued team member. The key here is to identify what defines you. Raise the bar in those areas and keep that bar high. Then you let that be the way you do everything. It can be hard at first, but it gets easier. The best part of this process is that it's a reflection of the real you. That's the strategic authenticity. Just keep in mind that the standard you set becomes your reputation. And as Buffett says, Don't let your hard work go to waste by letting your reputation be hurt by your own actions. The next key to a strong personal brand is technical excellence. Let's see what that means for you. At a basic level, knowing how to do your work is essential to having the job you have. Technical excellence goes beyond the basics. It's about the quality of your work. It's about its consistency and showing an uptrend on how you improve your skills over time. It's how you produce insights that help your team as a whole. In short, excellence means going above and beyond. It means becoming a key driver for the success of your team. Let's now talk about the third key, your professional presence. A popular phrase you may have heard before is dress for the job you want, not the job you have. It may sound cliche, however, it's true and it is a powerful concept. Having said that, you want to go beyond that. Your presence is not just your outfit. It's how you deliver value to others. Your presence comes across when you speak with confidence, when you present solid evidence to back up your ideas, when you articulate your thoughts clearly. A lot of it is how you communicate, and a lot of it is nonverbal. Be mindful of your presence. With practice, it will become second nature. We are now talking about the fourth and final piece of a strong personal brand, your relationship IQ. Your relationship or emotional IQ is your ability to connect with people. It's how you make others feel. It's what they take away from their interactions with you. You don't have to be an extrovert to make a good impression. In fact, introverts tend to prioritize one-on-one interactions over group interactions. This can lead to fewer but deeper connections. Your relationship IQ plays a major role in your ability to cultivate a strong professional network. Whether it's through networking, social media, or industry events, connecting with people in a powerful way is a major aspect of your personal brand. You now have all the pieces of a strong personal brand. Some parts of this segment of the masterclass may have encouraged you because you're already doing a good job with them, and some parts perhaps have become a source of concern. Both reactions are ultimately positive because any personal progress comes from self-awareness. At this point, you want to assess where you are on your personal brand journey, and I strongly suggest you perform a quick personal branding audit on yourself. To assist with that, I provide here some questions. The questions on the screen will help you assess where you are with your personal brand. From there, you can start working on any corrective measures to boost your personal brand. Don't skip this part. Go through the questions on the screen when you have a moment and diagnose where your personal brand needs more focus. Even if you conclude you have fallen behind, now you have a strong framework for improvement. We have completed part 3 of the career success model for investment analysts. Always be strategic. In the final segment in the next video, you will learn about the importance of catching a career wave. This is the step that separates good from great careers. You don't want to miss it. Before we say goodbye for now, this is a reminder to visit any of the links on the screen and claim your completely free guide to performance reviews. It only takes a few seconds to claim it. The guide is a comprehensive review of the annual performance appraisal. It gives you the tools you need to have an annual review that really boosts your career and sets you up for your next promotion. You can go to any of the 2 websites shown on the screen to get this PDF. See you on part 4. Please consider the disclaimer on the screen. This educational video should not be taken as personalized guidance, coaching, or mentorship.